So welcome back to the channel, hope you're doing fantastic. And today we're going to talk about creating positive change using hypnosis. So I'm joined on the channel by the fantastic Tony Gordon. Tony is a growth mindset coach with over 25 years experience. He's also a practicing hypnotherapist and he's also the creator of the company Changing Your Mind Limited. So Tony works with a wide variety of different clients on a one-to-one basis, but he tends to specialise in helping people alleviate stress, overwhelm and burnout. So welcome to the channel, Tony. Good to have you here. How the heck are you today?
Very good, thanks Steve, and thank you for inviting me on. I really appreciate it.
Fantastic. So let's just start off with something very, very general. So why do you think hypnosis is such a powerful vehicle, a powerful tool for creating positive change?
Oh, it's an amazing thing to have. I think more than anything because people worry too much about change. It's always about, because people look at change for the wrong reasons a lot of the time. They think change is something to be wary of or to be frightened of. But change can be for so much for the benefit. And we're using hypnosis with them. They get a chance to have their body totally relaxes, but their mind is more alert. So they can actually just feel a lot of ease while the change is actually going on. They know it's happening, they don't really know what's happening, and yet the results are amazing for them. And that's the most important bit is the realisation when they get it, how much this has helped them.
Yeah, I think for me it really opens up their imagination as well. I don't know if you'll agree with me. I think one of the things that really stops us from embracing some sort of change, whether that be a behavioural change, some sort of lifestyle change, or some kind of psychological change, is that we simply just can't imagine what life would be like if we were to be that way. So actually what happens when you go into hypnosis or you use hypnotherapy is the mind becomes so much more soft and becomes much more imaginative, much more creative, and it's much more open to stepping into new ways of thinking, feeling and being in the world. I don't know if that's the kind of thing you've noticed working with your clients.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of people that come to you don't really know what to expect. That's like they'll say when they come in, and yet when they leave, I always say one thing to them when they come in: when you leave, I don't know what it is, but you're going to leave a smile on your face. And that's the one I would just want to go with. And it's amazing how many of them do, because how they feel with that, like how quick change can happen when you get through hypnosis. And that's such a huge thing with them. But yeah, what you're saying is they realise themselves, it's them that does it all. I just guide them. It's their imagination that takes them where they need to go. And a lot of the problem is because people don't use it enough. We don't use our imagination enough. But when you're in that state and you change that state, your mind state, it's amazing when they can actually do that. One of them described it as like being a little kid again, because they can just, whatever happens in their head can just go. And it's amazing how you make things work or how they make things work in their mind.
I love that description, becoming a little kid again, because kids really, they're super imaginative, they're super creative, but they're also very good at creating change within themselves too. You know, as a kid where we're changing all the time, the brain is very, very malleable. I actually read a bit of research recently about, you know, how the brain now is considered to be a lot more plastic than what we think. In the past, we've always thought that it was very fixed and very, very rigid, you know, physically. But actually, it's much more malleable. And when we're kids, the brain is in almost like a kind of hyper, super malleable state. Now, it's not quite as, you know, adaptable, quite as, you know, as easy to mould as an adult. However, we can actually make it more malleable by going into a real state of absorption, a state of concentration, which really is what hypnosis is like, isn't it? So I think for me that was really interesting because there's a lot of research attached to that now. That actually, when you go into one of these kind of hypnotic, relaxed states, you're actually making your brain so much more plastic, which I thought was really, really interesting. Probably one of the reasons why it can be so powerful. So what does it actually feel like to change using hypnosis? Is it painful? Is it fun? Is it enjoyable? Does it smack you in the face like a I was going to say like a freight train, but that's a bit of an aggressive metaphor I'm using there. But what does it feel any different than if we were to change in kind of like the normal conscious way?
Yeah, I think one, because it seems to happen a lot quicker to the person. They realise the change is happening. But yeah, I don't think there's one way to describe it. I think if you put 5 people down who've all went through the same procedure, all go through the same processes, the same way of doing it, looking to alleviate the same issues, they'll all have a different experience. That's one thing that's amazing about it. It's unique to the individual. It's their mind that goes where they want it to go. So it's like we say about the kid thing. It was like going to a carnival. That's something very good to describe. You think going to a carnival And your perception when you go to that camp, what it's like, can be great. You might love the big wheel, or you'll love the waltzers, or something like that, roller coasters. Whereas someone else loves the shooting galleries, or the hooking ducks, or whatever it was, games. That's what it's like for them. But for each individual person goes to their own little place, it's like a magical place in their mind. And that's what's brilliant about it. But there is no one definition you can say what it's like for someone. The great thing I say to people is just go and experience it and find out what it's like for yourself.
I think it is having that attitude of just going in there with an open mind and just allowing the change to happen, rather than trying to be in control of it and force it. The way I like to describe it is it's kind of like the change almost like creeps up on you. It's kind of like change by stealth. Before you know it, you're thinking differently, you're feeling differently, you're maybe engaging in different habits because you're working with the subconscious mind. So it tends to happen at a level that's pre-conscious. It's kind of like if something happens to you and your friend asks you how you feel about that event, and you say to them, well, I don't really know. I don't know how I feel about it yet. Maybe know in a couple of weeks' time, once I've had time to allow things just to kind of settle a little bit. I often think that's how it kind of feels when you change through hypnosis. It's kind of like, something's happened. You leave a hypnosis session and it's kind of like, I feel different. Something has happened there, but I'm not quite sure what that something is. And often in the days and weeks and months after the session, that's when you start to get more of a conscious recollection of what the change actually is. It's a very difficult thing to describe, isn't it, when you have the conversation. So, just out of curiosity, you mentioned this briefly earlier on, or you alluded to it. Do you think there are still quite a few myths and misconceptions associated with hypnosis? And if so, what do you think some of the main ones are?
Okay, the first one I get every time is, are you going to put something into my mind? No, it's not the way it works quite like that. You're not going to make me cluck like a chicken. I always tell them no. I might make you dance like one, but I will never make you cluck like one, I promise. So it's the misconceptions, simple ones are, it's mind control when it's not. If a person wants to get up at any point and walk away, they can. They're in total control of the situation. So the person who's working them cannot force them to do anything their mind doesn't want them to do. If they want to make change, a good analogy that I say to people is if you look at on a stage, you look at a stage hypnotist. People don't realise it's the same thing. Stage hypnotist or hypnotherapist is the exact same. We all do hypnosis. Just hypnotherapists do it from a clinical point of view or therapy point of view. Stage do it for entertainment. But when you look at them on there and they say, well, what about these people who go up and they're forcing them to dance like that, or eating apples that they're eating an onion, they think it's an apple or some daft thing. But that's because their mind wants them to do that. All these little tests they give me for is people to do it. There is nothing that we can do that makes you do and that you don't really want to do. But also, I think is that people worry too much about changing as a person. Does it change me if I do that? Well, of course, it's going to change you, because if your mind changes, you're doing it for a reason, so it's going to change to something better than what you were doing before. So yes, it'll do that, but you put that change into place. I don't. So whoever your therapist is or whoever you work with, they will guide you and they'll guide you what you need to do, but your mind will actually make the changes.
It's an interesting one. I think the control one is really interesting, because I've noticed that quite a few times where people come in and go, does it mean I'm totally out of control? And actually what you're doing is you're actually helping them become more in control by taking them through hypnosis. You're really just an external guide. You're not, getting them to do anything that they don't necessarily want to do. And you're actually giving them more control over their day-to-day experience. But it's just a different type of control. I think when people talk about control, it's almost like they want to have conscious control of absolutely everything. But actually, it's really good to just appreciate that you do a lot of things subconsciously. You drive a car subconsciously. You don't have to control and consciously think of everything at the one time. You eat subconsciously. You breathe subconsciously. So that doesn't mean that you're out of control. It just means that your subconscious is in control of certain things. So I think it's okay just to kind of allow things to happen in that way. No, it's an interesting one. I've had that myself about are you going to make me kind of dance like Michael Jackson? Or that's maybe not very PC now with Michael Jackson, but are you going to make me cluck like a chicken and stuff like that? But very, very interesting. So can you kind of talk for the people who are maybe thinking, yeah, I'd love to give this a bash. I've never done a hypnotherapy session before. I wouldn't mind trying it out. So could you kind of walk those people through what a hypnotherapy session would be like? Do you start off by phoning up? Do you have an initial consultation? Do you go straight into hypnosis the moment they walk through your door? Do you do it on Zoom? How does it work, Tony?
For me, it's simple things. When they go to my website, any contact me button that you hit on my website will take you automatically to a booking system. I used to have these forms to fill in, but it's too much for people nowadays, don't have time for that. So all you do is click a button, it comes up with dates and times, you pick when you want to book in. So you book in a 30-minute consultation, and I tell people that 30 minutes is a chance for us to get to know each other. It's not really about the issue, although I need to know roughly why you're there, but it's more about realising that we're the right fit for each other. Because, as I said earlier with the 5 Ds, the decision's got to be yours that you want to change. It also gives me a chance to find out if you're really there for yourself or if you're there because someone else has forced you there. I've had this situation with someone not long ago who came for stop smoking, and he came in, half an hour we said we got the chat on it, we did it on Zoom, and I just said to him simply then, what are you here for? Stop smoking, do you want to stop? And I could tell that we were looking at his eyes, no. I said, I'll tell you what I'll do, I'll give you it for free, I won't charge you a penny for doing this if you can look me straight in the face and tell me you want that. And he couldn't, he told his wife, asked him to come. So he knew that. So that half hour gives me a chance to do one of three things. You're going to decide I'm the right person for you or I'm not. I'll decide if you're the right client for me or not. If not, I'll find you somebody who can. Or more than likely, we set up a plan. And the plan will be then, we'll decide whatever your issue is. And you said earlier, I work mostly with stress, overwhelm, burnout, preferably stress. And the reason being is, so you've not got as far as overwhelm and burnout, so we're preventing that happening. So as soon as you start feeling stressful, I ask them to come to me. What happened then is, on the first bit of that conversation, we're also having what's called a pre-talk. And that's me giving you a few ideas of what a session will look like. So you'll come in, whether it's into the office or come on Zoom. Zoom's just as easy for it. There's not a lot of difference with it. Different ways of maybe putting you into that place at ease that'll do is the only difference. So the first talk I do is just explain to you so you understand what I do. And a simple question I ask you is, what is my job? So you realise what hypnosis is, you can get me what you think it is, and then I'll explain to you. Once I know you feel at ease with that, then what I do then is just get you to close your eyes and follow some simple instructions. That's as simple as it is. What I start doing, the words that I'm saying, is only to help your body relax. And there's two words that confuse people when we keep saying relax and sleep. The only reason sometimes that terminology is used, because that allows your mind to understand what state we want to go in, but your mind is totally alert. As you said earlier, sometimes super alert. So once we've got you into that, it's just then as we talk you through a process of how the change is going to happen, speaking to your mind. So I speak to your unconscious mind to actually do that. And that's why we get you in that condition, because it stops, we call the gatekeeper, your conscious mind from actually getting in the way. So you then can make the changes you need to do. And then what will happen is you're having some little sentences at the end of it that helps you to change as you sleep at night. Each day, as you mentioned there, it may take a couple of days, weeks, you'll start realising those things that we're actually doing get stronger and stronger, and you get better. For most changes, it takes 21 to 28 days to break habits or to make new ones. So that's why I do that. What I also do a lot of my clients is I give them a little MP3 to take away. It's a little relaxation one that they can play each day, and if they do that, it just helps to emphasise and reinforce what I've told them in the sessions, so it helps it to work a lot quicker for them.
That's brilliant. So would you say that hypnotherapy is just as effective doing it on Zoom, or do you lose a little bit? Are there pluses and minuses? What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, at first I would have said, because my office in Glasgow, I preferred it a lot more face-to-face, to be honest. But what I started realising when I started doing it with Zoom, that a lot of the clients started to look at more at ease than what the ones when they came to the office, because the travelling, the stress of getting parked, the cost for doing that, getting to the office on time, whereas they move from one room to another, or even sitting on the couch, wherever they are at home, they felt more at ease. And it actually helped me, and I've realised then, is I can make the change a lot quicker with them, because they're more at ease. They're actually getting into the state we need them to be faster than into the office well. The only difference I said there is different types of people. There's some people who you use a certain way, technique to do it, that because the way their mind is so logical, sometimes they need a quicker way to get them under, and that's only it's a bit more difficult to do on Zoom sometimes. There is ways around that, but yeah, for those type of people, sometimes it is better face to face. But for the majority of people, Zoom works perfect.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. I found that there are certain downsides to Zoom. There are certain hypnotic processes. We're not obviously going to talk about those in this video, but there are certain processes that are just so much more powerful when you're in the room. You know, it does involve some sort of physicality. I know that sounds wrong, just describe it in that way, but sometimes it can be just much more powerful doing it face to face. However, I've found exactly what you said there, that people just seem so much more comfortable in their own surroundings. And it kind of makes sense. I mean, if they're going to see someone they've never met before, they're going to an office or they're going to their house or however they're doing their hypnotherapy, that's a pretty nerve-wracking thing for a lot of people because they're going out of their comfort zone. Whereas if they're doing it from their own house, a room in their own place, then they're already at ease because they're in their own familiar environment. So yeah, I found that too. It's very easy from a rapport building perspective, and people are already pretty comfortable, and that's usually a good place to then, you know, start to introduce hypnosis. So I found something similar. So fantastic. That's been really, really enjoyable. Hopefully the viewers now have a better understanding of what it's like creating positive change using hypnotherapy and what that would actually look like. So once again, if you're new to the channel and you haven't subscribed yet, then if you could consider subscribing, that would be absolutely fantastic. And also if you could hit that notification bell, that way you'll be notified each time we upload a video here at Mind School. So that's all from me and from Tony. Thank you very much for joining me on the channel today, Tony. Hope the rest of your week is going to go fine, and I'll see everybody else later on. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.